Okay, we're gonna try to buzz through this kind of quick because I am actually just reading this for myself. I just picked up a nice camcorder that uses Hi8 um, film tapes. I don't know, and I want to know more about them before I start recording stuff. So the 8 millimeter video format refers informally to I always start off so great, to three related video cassette formats. These are the original Video 8 analog recording format and its improved successor Hi8 analog video and analog audio, but with provision for digital audio, as well as more recent digital recording format known as Digital 8. Their user base consisted mainly of amateur camcorder users, although they also saw important use in the professional television production field. In 1982, five companies Sony, Matsushita, now Panasonic, JVC, Hitachi, and Philips created a preliminary draft of the unified format and invited members of the Electronic Industries Association of Japan, the Magnetic Tape Industry Association, MTIA, the Japan Camera Industry Association, and other related associations to participate. As a result, a consortium of 127 companies endorsed 8 millimeter video format in April 1984. In January 1984, Eastman Kodak announced the new technology in the US. In 1985, Sony of Japan introduced the Handycam, which is the camera that I got. Woo! One of the first Video 8 cameras with commercial success. Much smaller than the competition's VHS and Betamax video cameras, Video 8 became very popular in the consumer camcorder market. And I wanted to, where had I gone? I'd gone into analog audio, um, and I wanted to see analog signals, just because I'm not actually certain that I really know what that means. Like, true, you know? Like, you just hear it and you're like, yeah, I know the difference between analog and digital, but yeah. So analog, I feel like what I just said makes absolutely no sense, and that I can contradict myself. But like colloquially, if we're like talking, if I'm having a discussion with a random dude on the street, and there's a mention between analog and digital, like I get the vibe, But I suppose like in an actual quantitative measure or definitive measure, I don't know uh, the difference there. So, an analog signal is any continuous time signal representing some other quantity, in other words, analogous to another quantity. For example, in an analog audio signal, the instantaneous signal voltage varies continuously with the pressure of the sound waves. Okay. Um, how's that different than okay? In contrast, a digital signal represents the original time-varying quantity as a sampled sequence of quantized values. A sampled sequence of quantized values, as opposed to instantaneous varying. Okay, digital sampling imposes some bandwidth and dynamic range constraints on the representation and adds quantization error. The term analog signal usually refers to electric signals. However, mechanical, pneumatic, hydraulic, and other systems may also convey or be considered analog signals. Representation. An analog signal uses some property of the medium to convey the signal's information. For example, an aneroid barometer uses rotary position as a signal to convey pressure information. In an electrical signal, the voltage, current, or frequency of the signal may be varied to represent the information. Any information may be conveyed by an analog signal. Such a signal may be a measured response to changes in a physical variable such as sound, light, temperature. Sorry, I didn't want to read this slower. Um, any information may be conveyed by an analog signal. Such a signal may be a measured response to changes in a physical value such as sound, light, temperature, position, or pressure. The physical variable is converted to an analog signal by a transducer. For example, sound striking the diaphragm of a microphone induces corresponding fluctuations in the current produced by a coil in an electromagnetic microphone, or the voltage produced by a condenser microphone. The voltage or the current is said to be an analog of the sound. Okay, that makes sense. Noise. I do wonder how that works for light, though. Does this go to light or to analog light? No, it goes to light. Noise. An analog signal is subject to electronic noise and distortion introduced by communication channels, recording, and signal processing operations, which can progressively degrade the signal-to-noise ratio. Signal-to-noise ratio. I think that's kind of self-explanatory. Measure used in science and engineering compares the level of a desired signal to the level of background noise. Okay, yeah. And that is SNR, abbreviated SNR, signal-to-noise ratio. As the signal is transmitted, copied, or processed, the unavoidable noise introduced in the signal path will accumulate as a generation loss, progressively and irreversibly degrading the SNR until, in extreme cases, the signal can be overwhelmed. Noise can show up as a hiss and intermodulation distortion in audio signals or snow in video signals. Generation loss is irreversible as there is no reliable method to distinguish the noise from the signal. Bummer. William Basinski, right? Someone will get that. Converting an analog signal to digital form introduces, which I was actually going to search about that later. I want to convert my Hi8 into a digital once I record it, because it's not like I'm handing a Hi8 off to someone. Converting an analog signal to digital form introduces a low-level quantization noise into the signal due to finite resolution of digital systems. Once in digital form, the signal can be transmitted, stored, and processed without introducing additional noise or distortion using error detection and correction. Noise accumulation in analog systems can be minimized by electromagnetic shielding, balanced lines, low noise amplifiers, and high quality electrical components. Okay, I think that makes sense. I'm going to want to read the magnetic tape thing as well. So yeah, just to go back again to the beginning, an analog signal is any continuous time, so it's not discrete, it's not quantized, a continuous time signal representing some quantity analogous to another quantity. Or some quantity representing some quantity to another, an analogous thing. For example, in an analog audio signal, the instantaneous signal voltage varies continuously with the pressure of the sound waves. Meanwhile, in digital signal, the original time-varying quantity, the signal is represented as an original time-varying quantity of sampled sequence of quantized values. Okay, and it's got bandwidth and dynamic range. That makes sense. So analog recording is a category of techniques used for the recording of... Sorry, I'm backing up. Used for the recording of analog signals. Let me think again when I say that. Analog recording is a category of techniques used for the recording of analog signals. This enables later playback of the recorded analog audio. Analog audio recording began with mechanical systems such as the phonautograph and phonograph. Later, electronic techniques such as wire and tape recording were developed. Wire recording? I'm not familiar with that. Come on. Oh, is that like how people were always like, you got a wiretap or whatever? I don't know. Movies, I feel like they talk about wire. Whatever. I'll record that. Read that some other day, maybe. Analog recording methods store analog signals directly in or on the media. The signal may be stored as a physical texture on a phonograph record or a fluctuation in the field strength of a magnetic recording. It's so crazy that they can do that, you know? Analog transmission methods use analog signals to distribute analog transmission methods. The transmission methods in analogs use analog signals to distribute audio content. Okay. These are in contrast to digital audio, where an analog signal is sampled and quantized to produce a digital signal, which is represented, stored, and transmitted as discrete numbers. Okay, I think I'll want to read more on this at some other point, but I don't think that that's going to be right now. Yeah. Okay, back to the 8mm format. I'm just going to, now with a better understanding of analog versus digital, we'll reread this. The 8mm video format refers informally to three related videocassette formats, which, we'll just read this. Videotape is a magnetic tape used for storing video and usually sound in addition. Information stored can be in the form of either an analog or digital signal. Videotape is used in both videotape recorders, VTRs, and more commonly videocassette recorders, VCRs, and camcorders. I guess I don't videotape. Yeah, I guess that's like that, and then cassette is a cassette. Okay, so tape would be like a reel? I don't know. I know VCRs. These are the original Video 8 analog recording format and its improved successor Hi8 analog video and analog audio. What's the difference between analog recording and analog video and analog audio? Oh, but with provision for. Oh, I get it, because on my camcorder I do have a little spot by the front where I can plug in. Maybe that's what it's talking about, that I can plug a different microphone into, and maybe that allows me to record digital audio. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, improved successor Hi8, as well as a more recent digital recording format known as Digital 8. I wonder if I can. Okay, I don't get that. Wait, so Digital 8 is a consumer digital recording video cassette for camcorders developed by Sony, introduced in '99. It is technically identical to DV cassettes, but uses physical uses physical Hi8 tapes instead. I don't think I get that. Do we have a picture here? What do they mean? Um. Okay, let me just read it. Digital 8 or DI8 is a consumer digital recording video cassette for camcorders developed by Sony, introduced in '99. We already read this. Technically identical to DV cassettes. I don't know what a DV is. It's a family of codecs and tape formats. Okay. So it's a proprietary thing, I suppose. But uses physical Hi8 tapes instead. The Digital 8 format is a combo of the earlier analog Hi8 tape transport with the digital DV codec. Um, Digital 8 equipment uses the same video cassettes as analog recording Hi8 equipment, but the signal is encoded digitally using the industry standard DV codec, which means it has identical digital audio and digital video specifications compared with DV. Okay, so it sounds like it kind of was bridging the gap between a tape having analog and a tape having digital, if I understand correctly. It makes it so you can digitally record on traditionally analog devices, if I understand correct. To facilitate digital recording on existing Hi8 video cassettes, the helical scan video head drum spins 2.5 times faster. Okay. I don't know what that means. Helical scan. Oh, I've seen this component in cassette players or cassette tape using things. I don't know. I recognize that component. That's in my camera. I think I've seen it in cassette players before too. Method of recording high frequency signals on magnetic tape, used in open reel videotape recorders, video cassette recorders, digital audio tape. Cool. For both NTSC and PAL digital 8 equipment, I don't actually remember PAL. Phase alternating line. Okay. You are that. Just the American stuff. That's basically that. For that, digital 8 equipment, a standard length 120 minute NTSC 90 minute PAL Hi8 magnetic tape cassette will store 60 minutes of digital 8 video. So that's about for standard play, or 90 minutes for long play. There are that makes sense more or less with the 2.5 times faster, nearly. And that's 2 times faster. It's 120 divided by 2 is 60. Anyway, there are 90-minute versions marketed specifically for digital 8, but these use thinner tape than the 60-minute ones. LP is model specific, such as the TRV-30, TRV-40, and others. Digital 8 recordings can be made on standard grade Video 8 cassettes, but this practice is discouraged in the Sony user manuals, and Hi8 metal particle cassettes are the recommended type for digital 8 recording. Okay. Digital 8 recordings can be made on standard grade Video 8 cassettes, but it's discouraged by the Sony user manual. Hi8 metal particle cassettes are recommended. Most Hi8 tapes sold after the introduction of D8 are marked for both Hi8 and digital 8 usage. I'm not going to read the rest of that. Cool. Okay. So I'm not going to recover. This is back to the 8 mil. History. Do I want to read this whole thing? I'm mainly here just to learn more about my cassette camcorder. I'll read a little bit. So the history. Video 8. Video 8 was launched in '84 into a market dominated by the VHS-C and Betamax formats. Betamax was linked here. Okay, I recognize that. That was largely gone by the time I came around, I believe, but I've seen that around. When was this obsolete? Does it say? Betamax is widely considered to be obsolete, having lost the videotape format war, which saw its closest rival VHS dominate most markets. Though Betamax had higher quality image, the longer VHS tape ultimately became the standard. So this had up to 5 hours. And it also used helical scan. Okay, I'm going to have to actually read into helical scan more, because it's coming up again. All this information out there, it's worthless at the end of the day. So discontinued in '02. I was well alive at that point. Okay. Great. Betamax. Sorry, Betamax, you lost that to VHS. So, yeah, Video 8 was launched in '84 into a market dominated by VHS-C and Betamax formats. The first two models were the Kodak Codevision 2200 and 2400, both over $1,500 US monies. The Kodak machines were produced by Matsushita Electric, but Matsushita itself had shown no interest in selling the same product under its own name. Okay, weirdos. The first Sony camcorder capable of recording to standard 8mm videotape was the Sony CCD V8, with 6 times zoom, but only manual focus, released in '85 with a price equivalent to $11,000, about $1,200, $1,200, and a mass of just shy of 2 kilos. The same year, so 1985, a price equivalent to $1,200, which I guess that's modified for inflation. I don't know. The same year, in '85, Sony released the CCD V8AF, which added autofocus. Also in '85, Sony released the first of their compact handycam range, the CCD M8, which at 1 kilo was half the mass of the CCD V8, though it had no zoom and supported only manual focus with 3 focus settings. So here's an amateur grade Video 8 camcorder from the early '90s. I think we had something like that when I was growing up. A JVC though, if I recall correctly. And I had is Kodak Ectosound something? Kodak Ectosound. Ectosound. Sorry, I'm in a different tab. Yes, the Kodak Ectosound 230. I think that's what I had. Or is there a 150? Is that a thing? 140. That might be what I had. Here, I'll try to bring you over here. So I don't remember how I ended up with it. No, that's not it. Mine wasn't the 140. 240. I think that was me, but I said that about a different one. So yeah, yep, that's the one I had. I don't remember how I ended up with this, but I gave it away to some kid when I was in like middle school because I think they had a bigger vested interest in a camera, but I didn't know what I was doing with it. It used weird film, um, like a really clunky big thing of film. Here, this has a picture of it. This stuff. I think basically the reason I really gave it away, well, I never really used it because like what was I going to use it for? I wasn't like a filmography, buff or whatever. I didn't do anything like that, but I think it used a lot of batteries to run and just like trying to find new film for it. I think these cartridges were like $40 for one of them. And it's just like no reason to do that. I really do wonder though, like who did I give that to and did they ever end up doing anything with it? But it is just like a home recorder. They were trying to sell it for 100. It was a cool thing. Heavy. It was heavy. So like this dude down here just holding it like that, it I don't know. It's a hefty sucker. I don't remember exactly what, but probably like 8 pounds, which is a lot for something that you got to hold up like that. Anyway, back to reality. Oh, there goes my tab. Um. Okay. Here, let's look at this picture real quick. This is 8 mil um, tape, a video cassette. They hold a lot of storage, 120 minutes. And they are magnetic cassette tape encoded for NTSC, PAL, and CCAM. Or is it CCAM? Is it Portuguese? No, that's Russian. Well, covers a lot of area everywhere. Um, great. Let's move on. I was here. In April of 1986, six Japanese electronics companies, Matsushita, Hitachi, Pentax, Minolta, Mitsubishi, Sharp, and Toshiba, announced their lack of plans. Sorry, let me say those like a normal American, not even like, that wasn't even like good Japanese. Matsushita, Hitachi, Pentax, Minolta, Mitsubishi, Sharp, and Toshiba announced their lack of plans to embrace 8 millimeter in the foreseeable future and instead adopted VHS-C format. What does VHS-C look like? Do I have an easy link? No, I don't think I do. Because I know like a VHS thing that you use for, oh, that's it. I was going to say for like a, blockbuster film or whatever, but yeah, I remember this. And I had one of these adapters growing up. Not that I used it, but I recognize that. Yeah. I think I remember Demon Child here, but I think I remember playing with like my dad's VHS-C tape and just like spinning the wheel in the wrong direction, which is kind of devilish of me. But when you're a tot, you do what a tot does. You ruin all things that are good. Size comparison between the original VHS, VHS-C, and the mini DV. Okay, maybe I'll read that later. This is going to end up being a little bit. Oh, did that not follow? Okay, I'd gone here. Sorry. This tab sharing thing does not always make clear its intentions. So VHS, VHS-C, and mini DV. And this one I said I would potentially do at another time. Back to 8 mil. So these Japanese companies said, we're not doing 8 mil, we're doing VHS-C. Yet several months later, at the summer 1986 Consumer Electronics Show space, Olympus introduced an 8 mil camcorder manufactured by Matsushita, and Hitachi was reported to be making an 8 mil to be making 8mm machines for Minolta and Pentax. So they lied. In terms of video quality, Video 8 offers a similar performance to Beta 2 and VHS in their standard play modes. In terms of audio, Video 8 generally outperforms its older rivals. Audio on standard VHS and Beta is recorded along a narrow linear track at the edge of the tape, where it is vulnerable to damage. That's interesting to note. So the audio is recorded in a narrow track along the edge, vulnerable to damage. Coupled with the slow horizontal tape speed, the sound was comparable with that of a low-quality audio cassette, which I am well versed in. I like to get the dollar cassettes at my local place, and those are garbage. Very high, low fidelity. Um, Lo-fi. By contrast, all Video 8 machines used audio frequency modulation (AFM) to record sound along the same helical tape path as that of the video signal. They use audio frequency modulation to record sound along the same helical tape path as that of the video signal. Okay, that is on the Video 8 as opposed to VHS and Beta. This meant that Video 8's standard audio was of a far higher quality than that of its rivals. Early Video 8 camcorders used mono AFM sound, but that was later made stereo. This cost less than including 8mm's optional digital stereo audio track. Linear audio did have the advantage that, unlike either AFM system, it could be re-recorded without disturbing the video. Okay, you can re-record the audio without killing your video. Doing this in 8mm required a deck that supported digital audio. Interesting. The small size of media means that many Video 8 camcorders are small enough to hold in the palm of the user's hand. This was impossible with Betamax and full-sized VHS camcorders, with all of them having shoulder mount form factor. Yeah, VHSs are big. Although I do love the feel of them. Like, just holding a VHS, it's like, yeah, tactile. What's it called? What's the word? Darn it, it's late o'clock right now. It's like 1 a.m. Regressing? Yeah, I'm regressing technologically right now. I think it's just a normal factor of being in your 20s is to just go back. But, like, I am working on getting a VHS, VHS player, so I can, or no, VCR. I don't remember. I wanna get a bunch of movies on VHS because they just have a different quality to them. Like I'm watching Taxi from the 80s. I think it's 80s. From oh no, sorry, from 78. Watching it on DVD right now, and like yeah, it's digitized, but I don't know. You got a different feel when it's like this. And having just gotten this camcorder, prompting me reading into all this stuff, like just the video quality. I don't know if it's nostalgic or if it like feels more real, like having a CCD or I don't know whatever in our phones. I don't know if that full digital interface just like if I'm just too used to it, or if like there is something that feels less authentic. But I don't know. Having these tapes, I just like it. I don't know. I don't know if it's nostalgia, if it appeals to something deeper, or what. But low fidelity kind of nice. I mean, analog things are like a more pure representation. I know like a lot of audiophiles will claim that over vinyl because like vinyls that are, if I understand correctly, a vinyl record that is actually like recorded live and pressed from that has the most pure imprint of the sound because it is just a pure analog representation than like a CD because a CD is fully digitized, so there's loss. But yeah, I don't know. That was a tangent. What was this? So yeah, VHS not great for recording because you have to have a shoulder mount camcorder. Video 8 also has an advantage in terms of recording and playback time over VHS-C, 180 minutes versus 45 minutes in SP mode for standard cassettes for each format. Video 8 and Hi8's main drawback is that tapes made with Video 8 camcorders cannot be played on VHS hardware. If that's the main drawback, which I guess it is because VHS was so dominant. Um, yeah. Instead, it was assumed that the camcorder would be directly plugged into one's TV. Okay. Although it is possible to transfer tapes using the VCR to re-record the source video. Transfer tapes using the VCR to re-record the source video as it is played back by the camcorder. The VHS copy would lose some quality compared to the 8mm original. During the 90s, Sony did market a few VHS VCRs that also feature an 8mm deck to allow convenient transfer to VHS. Good on them. But those go for a couple bucks now. Gold Star also made a similar dual deck machine. Ultimately, Video 8's main rival in the camcorder market turned out to be VHS-C, with neither dominating the market completely. However, both formats, along with their improved descendants Hi8 and S8 and SVHS-C, were nevertheless very successful. Wait, is that saying that they were very successful? Both formats were nevertheless very successful. Were still very successful. Okay, yeah. It means they were, regardless, successful. Collectively, they dominated the camcorder market for almost 2 decades before they were eventually crowded out by digital formats such as mini DV, 8cm DVD. Yeah, that's just a DVD that's 8 centimeters. Okay, gotcha. Mini DV. Hi8. This is where I care. To counter the introduction of the Super VHS format, Super VHS. I remember those as well. I think my dad still has one of these in a drawer. Last time I was at his house, I think I recall seeing a gold box like that because I was going through some things. So yeah, to counter the Super VHS format, Sony introduced Video Hi8, short for High Band Video 8. First demonstrated in February of '89, it was initially endorsed by 9 other manufacturers: Aiwa, Canon, Fuji, Hitachi, Konica, Matsushita, Maxell, Sanyo, and TDK. Like SVHS, Hi8 uses improved recorder electronics and media formulation to increase recorded bandwidth to the luminance signal. I don't know what luminance signal is, and I'm surprised that they don't have that hyperlinked to another article. The FM carrier frequency range was increased from 4.2 to 5.4 MHz for regular Video 8, 1.2 MHz bandwidth, to 5.7 to 7.7 MHz for Hi8. Okay, so Video 8 was between 4.2 and 5.4 MHz, and Hi8 was 5.7 to 7.7 MHz. However, chroma signal bandwidth was not increased. I don't know what that means. Both Hi8 and SVHS, Super VHS, were officially rated at a luminance resolution of 400 lines. Television lines, TVL, is a specification of an analog camera or monitor's horizontal image resolution. Okay, I remember seeing these lines on my old tube TVs, cathode ray. The TVL is one of the most important resolution measures in a video system. Count the lines over this span equal to height. Okay, so they both had 400 lines. That makes sense. A vast improvement from their respective base formats and are roughly equal to Laserdisc quality. Chroma resolution for both remain unchanged. Both SVHS and Hi8 retain the audio recording signals of their base formats. VHS Hi-Fi Stereo outperforms Video 8 Hi8. Sorry, let me say that again. VHS Hi-Fi Stereo outperforms Video 8 Hi8 AFM, but was not available on camcorders. In the late 1980s, digital (PCM) audio was introduced into some higher grade models of Hi8 recorders. Hi8 PCM audio operates at a sampling rate of 32 kilohertz with 8-bit samples, and DBX dynamic range expansion. I recognize so many of these acronyms, PCM, DBX, but I don't know what they mean. This was higher fidelity than the monaural. I know aural is like you hear. Monaural. This was higher fidelity. So this sampling rate of 32 kilohertz with 8-bit samples and DBX dynamic range expansion. This was higher fidelity than the monaural linear dubbing offered by VHS, SVHS camcorders. PCM-capable Hi8 recorders can simultaneously record PCM stereo in addition to the legacy analog AFM stereo audio tracks. All Hi8 equipment can record and play in the legacy Video 8 format. Okay. All Hi8 equipment can record and play in the legacy Video 8 format. Does that? I guess that means that my camcorder can record legacy stuff. The reverse is not usually the case, though. The reverse is not usually the case, though there are a few late entry Video 8 systems that recognize and play Hi8 recordings. Besides Sony, Hi8 equipment was also offered by Canon, Hitachi, Nikon, Samsung, Sharp, and TEAC. PCM multi-audio. A number of Sony and Pioneer Things products all support a mode called PCM multi-audio recording, while other 8mm decks support only a single stereo PCM recording. These units provide 5 additional stereo PCM tracks that are recorded in the video area of the signal. This allows 8mm tapes to hold 6 parallel tracks of audio, each up to 4 hours long in LP mode. Only one stereo track can be recorded or listened to at a time, and tracks are selected with the PCM multi-audio selector button. Fascinating. That's a cool little function. I did not look at this picture. Professional grade ENG EFP field, Hi8 camcorder, the Sony EVW300. Fancy. And a Hi8 cassette. Rich colors and clear sound. Digital 8. How much longer I got here? Because okay. I got through the part that I cared about, so I'm kind of done. Digital 8. Introduced in 1999, Digital 8 is a form of the industry standard DV codec recorded on Hi8 media. In engineering terms, Digital 8 and Mini DV are indistinguishable at the logical format level. To store the digitally encoded audio-video on a standard NTSC Video 8 cassette, the tape must run at double the Hi8 speed. Okay. Thus, a 120-minute NTSC Hi8 tape yields 60 minutes of Digital 8 video. Most Digital 8 units offer an LP mode, which increases the recording time on an NTSC P6 120 tape to 90 minutes. If you do it in LP is like long penis. This is no longer family friendly. LP is there's a long and a short something. I don't know. This is all stuff that like was phasing out when I was a youngin, when I was growing up. I didn't easily see LP definition there. Phasing out when I was a youngin, and like I remember my parents having some of this stuff, and then there was a divorce, and kind of all that stuff disappeared, and suddenly parents were broke. Well, at least one of them was. Another thought they were. Don't watch this if you're my parents. Yeah, just things disappeared. Life changed. The Fire Nation attacked. So yeah, Digital 8. This is just a lot of kind of specification stuff, so I'll just kind of blur through it. For PAL, the Digital 8 recorder runs 1.5 times faster, thus a 90-minute PAL Hi8 tape yields 60 minutes of Digital 8. PAL LP mode returns the tape speed to Hi8 SP speed, So a Hi8 90-minute tape yields 90 minutes of digital 8 video. Sony had licensed digital 8 tech to at least one other firm, Hitachi, which marketed a few models for a while, but by 2005, only Sony sold digital 8 consumer equipment. Digital 8's main rival is the consumer mini DV format, which uses narrower tape and a correspondingly smaller cassette shell. Since both technologies share the same logical audio-video format, digital 8 can theoretically equal mini DV or even DV cam in AV performance. But by the year 2005, digital 8 had been relegated to the entry-level camcorder market. Great. 2005, digital 8, entry-level. Digital 8 recordings are not interchangeable with analog recordings, although many models of digital 8 equipment are able to play Hi8 Video 8 analog recordings. Great. There's a camcorder by Hitachi. That looks like 2004, 3, I don't know. The decline. By 2009, the popularity, by 2009, when did the freaking iPhone come out? When did iPhone come out? 2007 was the first iPhone. So 2009, I mean, we all already had our flip phones, and we were taking that utter garbage pictures with our flip phones. A lucky few had a BlackBerry and were doing something a little fancier, but it was still pretty garbage. But still, like those garbage phones we had, they were replacing camcorders in some degree. I mean, if you wanted good pictures, they weren't. But sometimes all you want is a blip of a memory. Yeah. So the decline probably happened like notably earlier, but whatever. That's just a kid talking. By 2009, this is Wikipedia talking, the popularity of the analog 8mm formats had dwindled considerably, and new camcorders that support the format were unattainable. Sorry. Trying to remind my PlayStation that I do actually care, because I'm using a PS3 to watch Taxi, even though it's on pause and has been for like the past 45 minutes while I've been talking, but whatever. Really bad show, by the way, Taxi. It has not aged well. Really has not aged well. Granted, I just started watching it tonight. I've had this DVD set of season 1 for a while. Just started tonight, and I've been meaning to watch it for a while because Tony Danza, I'm a fan of him in Who's the Boss. But I don't know. This just I haven't been paying close attention because I was trying to fix a game controller. So I had that taken apart and was just kind of background watching. But like I don't know, some like one episode, like the whole plot of the episode is the main character, whose name I forget, Alex. Um, Goes essentially on a blind date with a telephone operator who ends up being okay, she's overweight, and the whole plot is she's like projecting insecurities about her weight all the time. Not even projecting, she's just like expecting that Alex is going to like treat her badly or like make fun of her, and it's just like this, like it's hard to watch because like yeah, I feel bad for her because she has so many insecurities, but like this is supposed to be a comedy show. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel watching that episode because like it's supposed to be a funny sitcom, and they're putting this thing in here, which is like a very serious thing to have a talk about, the self-image and all that, and it's just like trying to laugh at it all the time. The show is trying to laugh at it, but it was the 70s, I guess, that I don't know. Yeah, it's such touchy stuff nowadays. So many different things being said. Yeah, anyway, dwindled. New camcorders that support the format of 8mm were unobtainable. How about that for getting back into it? Having been superseded by digital formats, mainly mini DV and 8cm DVD. These, in turn, have been crazy that GameCube was using 8cm stuff. I think 8cm. I don't remember. Those tiny discs. These, in turn, have been largely displaced by high-definition camcorders that record to flash storage cards. Both Video 8 and Hi8 blank media Both Video 8 and Hi8 blank media remain available and affordable, but are increasingly rare. Tape-based camcorders are still readily available in the second-hand market. The last Hi8 camcorder, the Sony CCD TRV 238, which I believe I have a CCD TRV. It's not the 238 though. It's like a 79 or something. And the last digital 8 camcorder, the Sony DCR TRV 285, were both discontinued in '06, ending the 8mm format's 22 years on the market. Not bad, all things considered, for um, a form of storage. We have gone through so many things so quickly in this humanity. The design. The three formats are physically very similar, featuring both the same magnetic tape width and near identical cassette shells, measuring 95 by 62.5 by 15 mil. This gives a measure of backward compatibility in some cases. And one difference between them is in the quality of the tape itself, but the main differences lie in the encoding of the video when it is recorded onto the tape. Video 8 was the earliest of the three formats and is entirely analog. The 8mm tape width was chosen as smaller successor to the 12mm Betamax format, using similar technology, including U-shaped tape loading, but in a smaller configuration in response to the small configuration VHS-C compact camcorders introduced by the competition. It was followed by Hi8, a version with improved resolution. Although this was still analog, some professional Hi8 equipment could store additional digital stereo PCM sound on a special reversed track. Incredible. Digital 8 is the reverse track thing, that's just cool. Digital 8 is the most recent 8mm video format. It retains the same physical cassette shell as its predecessors, and can even record onto Video 8, not recommended, or Hi8 cassettes. No comment. However, the format in which video is encoded and stored on the tape itself is the entirely digital DV format, and thus very different from the analog Video 8 and Hi8. Some digital 8 camcorders support Video 8 and Hi8 support Video 8 and Hi8 with analog sound for playback only, but this is not required by the digital 8 spec. In all three cases, a length of 8mm wide magnetic tape is wound between two spools and contained within a hardshell cassette. These cassettes share similar size and appearance with the audio cassette, but their mechanical operation is far closer to that of a VHS or Betamax video cassettes. Standard recording time is up to 180 minutes for PAL and 120 minutes for NTSC. The cassette holds the same length tape. Tape consumption is different between PAL and NTSC recorders. Interesting. I wonder if that causes differences in quality. Like most other video cassette systems, Video 8 uses a helical scan head drum, it having a small 40mm head, to read from and write to the magnetic tape. The drum rotates at high speed, 1 or 2 rotations per picture frame, so that's about 1800 or 3600 RPM for NTSC. That's a lot of RPMs, you know? That thing's going. It's really going there. And 1500 to 3000 RPM for PAL, while the tape is pulled along the drum's path. Because the tape and drum are oriented at slight angular offset, the recording tracks are laid down as parallel diagonal strips on the tape. I'll say that one more time for myself. Because the tape and drum, the helical scan head drum, are oriented at a slight angular offset, the recording tracks are laid down as parallel diagonal strips on the tape. Okay, that makes sense. Parallel diagonal strips. The heads on the drum of a Video 8 recorder move across the tape at a writing speed of 3.75 meters per second. Meters per second. Unlike preceding systems, 8mm did not use a control track on the tape to facilitate the head following the diagonal tracks. I don't know what a control track is. A track that runs along an outside edge of a standard analog videotape. The control track encodes a series of pulses, each pulse corresponding to the beginning of each frame. I think I know what that. Do we have any pictures here? No pictures. Instead of having this control track on the tape to facilitate the head following the diagonal tracks, Instead, 8mm recorded a sequence of 4 sine waves on each video track such that adjacent tracks would produce one of 2 heterodyne frequencies if the head mistracked. Let me read that. It recorded a sequence of 4 sine waves on each video track such that adjacent tracks would produce one of 2 heterodyne frequencies if the head mistracked. The system automatically adjusted the tracking such that the 2 frequencies produced were of equal magnitude. This system was derived from the dynamic track following (DTF) used by Philips' Video 2000 system. Cool. Sony rechristened the system as Automatic Track Following (ATF), Automatic Track Following (ATF), Automatic Track Following (ATF), as the 8mm system lacked the ability of the heads to physically move within the head drum. The main disadvantage of the ATF system was that, unlike in the case of a control track, an 8mm camera or player cannot keep track of where the tape is. An 8mm camera or player cannot keep track of where the tape is during fast forward and rewind, though it could during shuttle search. This made editing using a linear editing system problematic. The main disadvantage of that, unlike in the control track, 8mm camera or player cannot keep track of where the tape is? What? I don't get what that means. Can't keep track of where the tape is during fast forward and rewind? What? I'm confused by that. Some later cameras and players attempted to derive the tape position from the differential rotation of... Does that mean, like, in the control track you could select a point in the tape and go to that? Attempted to derive the tape position from the differential rotation of the spools with limited success. I don't know what that means. I don't know what they're saying with that. Tape and recording protection. We're almost done here. Almost done. Saying good for myself. As with many other videocassette formats, 8mm videocassettes have a tape protecting mechanism built into the shell. Unlike the ones on VHS and VHS-C shells, which consist of only a single piece of plastic that protects part of the tape that is read by the player recorder, Hi8's tape protection mechanism consists of 2 pieces of plastic at the top of the shell that come together and form a casing that protects both sides of the tape, and a latch that prevents this casing from opening and exposing the tape. The playback recording unit can depress this latch to open the casing and gain access to the tape. It's just talking about the cover, a little protective cover. If you've messed with a VHS tape, you know it's got a little lip that you can pull back, and when you put it into the VCR, it'll like open that lip like a foreskin. To prevent the recording on the tape from being erased, there's a small write protect tab that could be moved to one of 2. Ooh, this is actually relevant. I've seen this on my own Hi8 tape. Okay. Yeah, there's a small write protect tab that can be moved to one of 2 positions. Pardon me. It's 1:30ish. Labeled record, REC, and save, sometimes marked as erase on and off, respectively. Erase on, record, save, off. Comparing... Does that just mean like you can record over or you can't record over? Comparing the sliding tab... Oh, it means it won't even open it? Comparing the sliding tab to a door... Comparing the sliding tab to a door, the tape is in the record position when the door is open, and in the save position when it... Oh, so it just like slides itself when the thing opens and closes, I guess. Not all tape cases have markings for this information. The tape can only be recorded onto or recorded over when this tab is in the record position. This is an improved version of the VHS Write Protect tab, which prevents erasure after it has been broken off, requiring covering with adhesive tape or filling with an obstruction to remove the write protection. I think I get that, but I'm not actually certain. The write protect switch prevents accidental erasure. Yeah, I guess I'm not actually certain what that means. Like, you can record over it, or like, what does it mean, erase? I don't know. Okay, nearly done. Non-camcorder use. For the home market, efforts are made to expand Video 8 from only the camcorder market into mainstream home video. But as the replacement for full-size VCRs, Video 8 failed. It lacks the long 5+ hour recording times of both VHS and Betamax, offers no clear audio-video improvement, and costs more than equivalent full-size VCRs. Even with all of the advanced features offered in high-end Video 8 machines, there was no compelling reason to switch to Video 8 for the home application. Initially, many movies were pre-recorded in 8mm format for home and rental use, but the rental market for Video 8 never materialized. Sony maintained a line of Video 8 home VCRs well into the 90s, but unlike VHS, 8mm VCRs with timers were very expensive. Sony also produced a line of Video 8 Walkman branded players and recorders, with and without a flip screen, meant for video playback and limited recording. That'd be cool. Have a little video Walkman. I'd like that. I'd like that a lot. These have been adapted for digital 8 as well as mini DV formats, even as portable DVD players have become popular in this application. Sorry, I don't know why I said app. Such players saw use in professional applications, particularly with airlines who during the 80s adopted 8mm as a format for in-flight movies. They remained in use among some airlines until at least 2015. Wow. Videography. Among home and amateur videographers, Video 8 Hi8 was popular enough for Sony to make equipment for video editing and production. The format also saw some use in professional electronic news gathering and electronic field production. Professional 8-track audio. Hi8 tapes were also used for an 8-track professional digital audio format called DTRS, including a Tascam DA88 and similar models. Okay, no picture. While the cassettes are physically interchangeable, these recordings are not interchangeable with 8mm video formats. Here's a Canon ES100A high-end video 8 VCR based on the Sony EVS1. How nice looking. And there's our little video Walkman. That looks vaguely familiar. I love little products from the 90s like that. That looks late 90s though, like it's wanted to kick itself into the 2000s. But it's using Video 8, so it's got to be like, because Video 8 it said came out in when? In 84. And when did Hi8 come out? In 89. So maybe that is actually, sorry, I might just be really botching um my dating. That might be from the late 80s. The Ruby, that sounds familiar. No picture, so it doesn't exist. Cool. Okay, that's that. Now I need to do my own research to figure out how I can digitize Hi8, because I just want to upload it. Like the camera I got, it came. I grabbed it at a Goodwill. Really stupid. I like Goodwill, but I also hate it. Don't support Goodwill by donating to them. Keep buying there if you like, but don't donate to them because they nowadays they've shortened the list of what they're willing to sell considerably. They've just like cut stuff off the list, and if you donate something to them that they don't sell, and they don't like vet that right when you drop it off, which hopefully they do vet it, like as you're trying to drop off a nice camcorder that, according to my research, like can sell for $200, when it's working, which this one is. If they don't vet that, like and prevent you from actually dropping it off, they just, I mean, it definitely varies from Goodwill to Goodwill, no doubt, but I would imagine in the majority they just throw it out. And at least my local Goodwill also does not allow dumpster diving. Like they've got, I think they lock their dumpster and they've got cameras on it. I am a former heavy dumpster diver. I love dumpster diving. I think it is a great thing. Waste not, want not. Like it should be allowed. Um, but whatever. But yeah, they don't sell a lot of stuff that they used to at Goodwills, and yeah, they'll just throw they throw so much stuff out that is donated to them. um, which is apparent if you do get to peek into their dumpster. And all this because when I got this camcorder from Goodwill, the manager of my Goodwill was the only person on the registers at the time, which is rare. Um, and she was like, Where'd you get that camcorder?" Or, well, actually, what she said was, "What is this?" And I was like, "It's a camcorder." Like, come on, she's like in her late 40s probably, and no way she doesn't know what a camcorder is. And she's like, "Where'd you get this?" And I was like, "It was over there." She's like, "Oh, it should not have been on the floor. We don't sell these." And I was just like, "Okay, why don't you sell them?" And she just said, "We don't." And I was like, "Okay." And then I just said, "I'll still give you money for it." And didn't actually really seem like she needed convincing. I was worried that she was just going to throw it out because I've also seen, actually, in the past couple weeks, I go there somewhat regularly. Again, like I don't support donating to them, but I do support buying stuff because I want the shit that ends up there. Um, the past couple weeks, a surprisingly number of West Clock Baby Bens, a little mechanical alarm clocks. Surprisingly large number of them have shown up, that being three of them. And here, I'll try to pull up a picture of a baby bin if you don't know them. And yeah, the first one that I saw there, every single one of them, whoopsie, that's not it, has been, every single one has been broken for one reason or another. These clocks were mass produced, like heavily mass produced. I have this model. It's from like the 60s, 68 maybe. Um, really, really mass produced. The movements in them are really garbage. Like unless you get to some of the older models, a lot of them will not really be serviceable. You can't take them apart, and especially in the later stuff, there end up being some plastic gears in the movement. So like the main hour arbor or whatever you call it in one of the ones I picked up, just like one of the gears was completely stripped so that you can't even like wind it up. It doesn't wind up. But anyway, that's to say, actually, so the one I have that I like is this one with the black dial and the gold bezel, bronze bezel. Mine, unfortunately, though, for winding it, the winding arbor here, it is a little like weak plasticky rubbery thing. I don't actually know what the material is officially, but basically over the decades, it does not have the dexterity it once did, and now like has stripped out. This just screws on here. It's just threaded. So mine um, doesn't actually wind up because it's stripped. So I saw this other baby bin at Goodwill, and it had a metal winding arbor, and I was like, okay, great, I want this. Um, the, this one though that I saw at Goodwill is the one that had the broken gears, which I knew it wasn't winding. I didn't know exactly why. I figured it was probably that, but it was like $5 for a broken mechanical clock that like you can buy. Well, maybe not this nice one from long ago, but a lot of these you can buy for like 10-20 bucks on eBay. Like look at that, 20 bucks for that. I was like $5 for this. All I want is the arbor there, and this one that I was looking at was from like the 80s or something, so it was kind of really bad. Um, But yeah, it was labeled electrical clock, this mechanical clock. And I just go up to the counter and I'm like, hey, this is a. Well, I actually didn't even say anything on this clock because I just wanted the winding arbor. I didn't want any fuss. But the lady was like, you're getting this. And I was like, yeah, it's just because she like commented on it. I was like, yeah, it's broken. And she's like, she literally just said like, "Well, I don't know anything about that," and I was like, "Okay." And so it had a sticker on that said electrical clock, and she was like, "Okay, do you want a receipt since it's electrical? You can return it up to like however many days since it's electrical if it doesn't work." And I just said, "Oh, it's not electrical. It's a mechanical clock, and but it's also," I said to her, "It's also a broken mechanical clock, like I said."
So I don't plan on returning it. I already know it's broken. And she just looked at me with like, the like 1,000 mile stare, just this dead look, like because the clock was facing down, so she could only see that back if she could only see this. So I like tried to turn it up for her so she could see the face of it and see that it's like a clock, but it did not compute that it was mechanical. Maybe she just didn't know that clocks used to be mechanical, and it just made no sense. And we just kind of had a moment where I looked at her and I was like, uh, don't worry about it. But anyway, the next time, do we get some? Next time I saw a baby Ben, I really didn't need um, any more clocks lying around. This one was like a full plastic body. It was a really disappointing condition. Um, no, wait, sorry, it wasn't disappointing. It was in nicer physical condition, but still broken, a dome cover or whatever, I forget, and also not working. This one, it might, well, actually, shoot, it might have been working. I remember it was missing some pieces. The alarm set, uh, dial, and time set dial are little rubber nubs that slide on here, although this one looks metal. Same with the like turn on the alarm and turn off the alarm. Um, and on this one, all of those nubs were missing. They can be pulled off kind of easy. And also the winding garber was missing. So for this one, I didn't actually know if it did work, but the back case I think was also cracked. So can't tell if it works, and it was a newer model, so I wasn't like that invested in it, and if you shook it, you could hear rattling inside. So I just go up to the dude at the cash register, and I just said like, because I'm at Goodwill often, so they probably recognized me, but I think the dude still thought I was trying to cheat him. I just said like, hey man, I feel really stupid asking this on a $5 clock, but like this thing is broken and it's missing pieces. Like I shook it so he could hear it rattle. Like it's broken and it's missing pieces. Can I get any kind of discount on it? And he's like, nope, price is marked. And I was like, okay. And as he's saying that, he's like scanning it. And he's like, so that's five whatever with tax. And I was like, no, no, I'm sorry. Like if I can't get a discount, I don't even want it because again, it's broken and missing parts. And he just looked at me with that dead stare. I was like, sorry, like thanks. And I was so then I just said like, you want me to put it back on the shelf for you? Because I'm thinking like, yeah, it's broken. I already bought one of these baby bens from Goodwill that was broken, so maybe someone else will also buy this broken clock. Um, like keep it in circulation, keep it alive, was kind of my thinking, even if it's broken, or maybe some sucker will think that it's working and buy it. So I was just like, you want me to just put it back on the shelf for you? And I don't know why, but the dude just looked at me and then was like, nah, man. He grabs it and chucks it like, not even Kobe's it, like flops that thing into a trash can. I'm just like, okay, bro. Like, whatever gets you off. Like, yeah. I don't get it. Like, if you're gonna throw it out, I don't want to be a Michael Scott with the like, well, hey, what do you do with the empty or with the old hot dogs at the end of the day? We throw them out. Well, can you just throw one out now into my mouth? But like, what's this dude got riding on the whole shebang there? Like, just I don't know. Either give me a discount. Well, now I feel like I'm a begging chooser, but it was a broken clock. I don't expect these people working at Goodwill to be horologists or to be willing to negotiate, but like just call a manager and be like, hey, talk to this dude. I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid. Anyway, I've at this point just started rambling. Um, yeah, if you go here to clockhistory.com, you can learn a lot. And Sonia, great brand. They made clocks up until like what, the 1940s or something, maybe 1920s. I actually don't remember. They've got an interesting history. I should read the 1920s. Yeah. I should read their Wikipedia page because, well, I should record it. I've already read it, but they're fun. I need to go. It's 1:40 a.m. Cheers.